Welcome back, everybody, to yet another summer series episode of your two favorite knuckleheads. It's Boomer and Junior. My name's Boomer.
And I'm Junior.
Hey, everybody! Happy August, happy summer. Still, I guess. What is it? What day is it? I think it's like the middle of August, right down the middle. It is still weird, like muggy and humid up in Indiana, but you can tell like everything around you is like ready for football season and ready for like cooler temperatures. And I am, for one, very, very excited. Zachy, before we get into stuff, as we normally do, what's up with you, man? What's going on with you?
Oh, it has been an absolute heater of a day so far. All right. Went off 2.5 hour surf session this morning, which was electric. Had a couple hours cruising on. It was great. And then I finally sold my bike. I had an old bike that was from when I was like a kid. It's the bike I learned how to ride a bike on for context.
Okay.
That I brought out with me, head rode, but it's way too small for me. Sold that just a couple minutes before we started recording. And then I have a new bike that I just got a couple days ago that I have to replace it. That's a better fit for me and stuff. So I could use that, take my surfboard to the beach and stuff. I'm amped up.
Two things for you. One, I kind of wish you hadn't taken a bike. I'm actually looking for a bike right now. And two, if you can send me the link to whatever bike you got, I will happily take it.
Oh, yeah. I will definitely send you. I've got some like things to look for and stuff, so I'll definitely hit you up. Yeah.
Okay, please. Yeah, me being back in grad school and stuff. I live like about a 20-minute walk away from campus. I'm trying to shorten that via bike come the cold winters up here in South Bend.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Yeah, and so also just like trying to get a bike to make my life easier, maybe cut down on time. Semantics, but I'm expecting
also. I would say Notre Dame will also be a great place to just like go on a bike ride around.
Yeah,
there's like that's like the perfect like size campus. You can kind of like see like a good, pretty large chunk of the campus to just go on a bike ride around. It's for that good exercise and stuff.
Yeah, and as Zach mentioned, Notre Dame, I must do the obligatory go Irish. Happy Sunday, everybody. We're back on our summer series, and part of that, as we've kind of been doing the last couple of weeks, is we're doing like these conference overviews. We're kind of building up kind of what we're thinking is like, we're building up based on like what we're ranking as conference intensity. All right. And so we started off with some of the Power Fives. We've covered the ACC. We covered the Big 12. Now we're talking about some big dogs. We're going into the Southeast. We're going to be talking Southeastern Conference, the SEC, and how we're looking ahead of 2026. It's going to be good.
Yeah, the SEC, which the one good thing I will say about them going for them, well, I guess they have some other good things going for them. Holding the regionality at least. They might have poached Texas and Oklahoma from the Big 12, but they're still the Southeastern Conference, though. Yeah. I respect that. But yeah, big storyline kind of general overlook for the conference this year is that they're shifting their conference schedule. So previously, teams were required to have 8 conference games as well as 1 non-conference game that was against a Power 5 opponent or Notre Dame. They changed that. They now need to do 9 conference games and still have that non-conference requirement. So there's going to be some really crazy, difficult schedules coming up here for these SEC teams for this season and all upcoming seasons.
Yeah, I think I hope that it increases the intensity and doesn't make it like sort of like a cakewalk for Alabama, for example, to get like another like Mississippi State game. No offense to any Mississippi State folks, or like I can't even say Vandy anymore because like they just had a good year, but like a Mizzou type situation. But regardless, I think you know what, I'm not against it. I get it from a conference standpoint of like wanting to like push independents like Notre Dame to make turn up the heat on joining a conference, but like. Hashtag we're not going to join conference. Like, that's not happening. Hashtag go Irish. Hashtag run the damn ball.
The most Irish, Notre Dame Irish thing ever was making the SEC preview about Notre Dame.
Hashtag CJ Carr for the Heisman. Hashtag go Irish. All right. I'm going to kick us off. Like Zach went over through the overview. We're going to be going kind of similar to what we've been doing the last couple of weeks. We're going to go team by team, and we're going to start right up top at the Alabama Tide. And so before I do anything, obligatory roll Tide. Um, they're ranked at preseason number 6 on the SEC poll, right, Zach?
Yeah, preseason media poll.
Yeah, they got a couple cool storylines coming out of camp. I think the big question with Kalen DeBoer, I think going into year 3, is, can he get that program back to Atlanta? There's already been a lot of conversation around if he's the guy, if he has what it takes to push his team. Obviously, he took Washington all the way to the national championship a few years ago with Michael Penix and all that fun stuff. But I mean, it's never an easy job to take on the head coach of Alabama right after Nick Saban steps down. And so, they've been out of, and there's already conversations of like, hey, Alabama's washed, like they're done. And so there's a lot of doubt and a lot of concern going into obviously 2026, 2027. And I think that's why they're ranked at number 6. They've got a big QB question going into the season as well. There is really not a clear answer on like who the right guy is at the helm for Alabama.
Yeah, you've got Austin Mack, who's got a bit more experience, but then you've also got redshirt freshman Keelan Russell, who's got a lot more potential, it seems. So it's be kind of a tricky question, balancing the experience versus talent, filling in for Ty Simpson, obviously, as he was drafted by the Rams this past year.
Oh, yeah, he did go to the Rams out west. Yeah. I think, a lot of the guys in the conference, like Trinidad Chambliss and Ole Miss, right? Like Gunnar Stockton out in Georgia, right? They've got the answers at QB. They've got the guys at QB. They've got the experience at QB. I'm sure Alabama's going to figure it out. They're going to put a guy that's worthy of the starting position going forward pretty soon here. But there's a couple guys to look out for in this program. I think Ryan Williams, wide receiver, he's a really, really important returning offensive unit. And so I think that experience is going to be super helpful. He's coming into the season after having 49 passes for 689 yards and 4 tutties in 2025. And I think that's going to be helpful, at least for
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious to see, Nick, I don't know if you recall, but not this past season, but 2 seasons ago, it was him and Jeremiah Smith. Everybody was heralding as like these 2 like top guys, like these freshman wide receivers who were arguably the best receivers in the country already as true freshmen. And Ryan Williams kind of regressed a bit last year, had some drop issues and stuff.
Yeah.
He was still, pretty reliable and playing high level football, but definitely not quite what we want to see. I think he actually was like leading the nation in like drops or drop rate or something like that at one point, which was crazy. But also having some electric plays. Yeah. So maybe if he can get that consistency going and get kind of stickier hands, could be huge for Alabama.
I think he's in a healthy place to do it in terms of like the Alabama football program. In terms of, we've seen it like dozens of guys have off years and then come back skyrocket, right? And so very excited about it. I think there's a high ceiling for the guy. And so I'm looking forward to it. Bray Hubbard on the defense is also the guy I look for, a veteran sort of centerpiece in that secondary. He's on Alabama's 2026 roster and selected preseason to the first SEC all defense. I don't think I'm ever, or anyone really is worried about Alabama's defense. I think historically as a program, they lock that down pretty darn well, even with the whole transition of power. They've really struggled on offense and generating offensive output the last couple of years. And really, when it's clutch time and when it's crunch time, like they just don't have the answer for an opposing defense, like a Georgia defense or a Texas defense at times, right? And so, yeah, I think I'm going to say one last thing before I let you have the mic. It's just that I definitely think it's Kalen DeBoer's do or die year. I think that's pretty blatant. I think that is declared. That is, he knows this. Everybody knows this, right? And so, what do I think? I don't know. I think Kalen, it's going to be either really, really great or really, really really, really mediocre. I think there's no in between, quite frankly.
Yeah, this is definitely the point where Alabama, if they miss the playoff, which, preseason SEC rank at 6, highly unlikely that 6 SEC teams are going to make the playoffs, right, with all the auto bids and everything. I think if he misses the playoff, there's a very real chance that he's fired at the end of the season, which is, understandable because they've got such a high standard down there. Yeah.
Tough, man. It's tough to go that. to
Mm-hmm.
to Birmingham. Was it Birmingham? No. Wait, I'm missing up my places in Alabama.
Tuscaloosa.
Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
Nope. Nope. But yeah, no, should be
Yeah.
an interesting year for Bama. Roll
On
Tide.
the other
Actually,
side
not
of
Roll
the
Tide.
on the other side of rankings in terms of historically great, woo, Pink Suey! We got Arkansas up next, who is
Oh, that was
unfortunately.
loud.
Oh, that was loud. Oops. Might have been. I apologize. With doing this, I might have made it a little louder. I do. We'll have to fix that in the audio. But anyways,
No, you're all good. I'm
um,
just playing.
yeah, woo pig suey. Arkansas picked to finish last in the preseason SEC poll, and that's just there's a lot going on there, right? Fired their head coach mid-season last year. That's one of the top storylines is Ryan Silverfield coming in as the head coach and hoping to reset this team after a 2-10 finish last year. That's pretty brutal, right?
Yeah.
And so seeing what can be done if Silverfield can make this team competitive quickly, even just showing like some more competence on the field and stuff and hanging in more games would be big time.
Yeah. I think Arkansas, like, hey man, don't be ragging on 2-10 season programs just so quick, right? Like some of us, are just trying to scrape by, as in the Purdue Boilermakers up north, all right? Like, some of us have heart, all right? No, I think I don't have much to say on Arkansas except for the fact that I'm expecting another like sub mediocre season from them. They're going to have a lot of teething issues. I think both on offense and defense.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I think Ryan Silverfield's great, but it's also like this is the type of program where nothing magical is gonna happen year one. Like you throw as much money as you want, do whatever you want. Nothing magical is happening in Fayetteville. No
Yeah.
offense, but yeah.
Yeah, I think they've got a decent chance of making some stuff happen in the long run, right? But yeah, like you said, kind of this year one stuff. It's gonna take a bit of time. You need to kind of culture reset. Get some more consistency and stuff, and kind of focus on increasing the floor of the program.
You
right?
are
Things would be
you are also a program in the second toughest conference in college football. Like,
hmm
yeah, that is what it is.
a conference that has not played for a national championship in any of the past 3 seasons.
That's embarrassing. That's so.
had
Hey,
to sneak in a little dig there real quick.
I don't know what that's like.
Anyways, yeah, some players to watch for Arkansas, though. You got Quincy Rhodes Jr., defensive lineman. He's going to be the centerpiece of that Arkansas defense. He's really big time. He's one of the top defensive linemen across all of the SEC.
Sure.
Had 44 tackles, 15 and a half tackles for loss, and 8 sacks last season. That's pretty big time. He represented the team at SEC Media Days, and for good reasons, because he's going to be a big defensive leader there for them.
Yeah, no, for sure. Big time.
Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, at the running back position, then you got Sutton Smith as well, who's hoping to really bring some firepower and have that rushing attack propel the Razorbacks forward.
Yeah, I think Arkansas looking forward to maybe at best another 5-7 year if you had to ask me. But yeah, at best, I'm like that's their ceiling in my opinion. But yeah, not to rag on Arkansas, but yeah.
Yeah, I think you're looking for a lot of moral victories and stuff, which is kind of stuff
so.
you want to target, right? Just like I said, build up that floor. You got at least a couple years and just kind of start making moves in the right direction here in year one.
I think you just want to see younger guys do well, right? I think you want to see younger guys perform and have good potential.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Let's go back into the state of Alabama, folks. We're going to go talk about the Auburn Tigers. Preseason ranked number 12 in the SEC poll. Another university within college football that has a new head coach coming in this season after firing their last. I think one of the big questions that everyone's talking about is, can Alex Golesh transform or turn around Auburn immediately? This one's a little more unique than Arkansas, in my opinion. I think culturally, Auburn is a place that can do it. I think historically, they've got the program, they've got the culture in that place that can do it. But it's also just a tough place. It's also just a tough place in college football right now to get a new head coach after having gone through a rough year, had a rough couple of years, to be fair. And I think another one that is being tossed around is, can they maximize on Byron Brown, right? They've got a huge and they've got a very, very, they're in a very good spot right now in terms of like having a great veteran transfer quarterback come in. That's not that, I don't think that really happened much this past offseason. And so I can kind of you sort of like, well, it's like a
It's
Walmart version of like the Carson Beck transfer from 2 years ago.
Mhm.
But
Well, this is
yeah,
big too because Byron Brown's coming from USF with Alex
true.
Golesh, right? And so they got that familiarity and stuff. It's kind of like Mestamaker and is Eric Morris is the head coach at Oklahoma
Yeah,
State
over at
now.
Oklahoma
Kind of
State.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, kind of like one of those situations. That familiarity I think is going to be
Where
big.
you've already got sort of that relationship built up, right? And it's a
Hmm.
matter of can you produce on the big stage. Yeah,
For
we
sure.
talked about Byron Brown. Uh, Arguably one of like he's going to be a huge player at Auburn. Hopefully, if he stays healthy. Uh, Obviously, coming from USF, who had a great year last year. Let's talk about Xavier Atkins, though, linebacker, veteran defensive leader on Auburn. He's a junior on Auburn's 2026 roster. He's transferring in from LSU. I think sort of like that intra SEC transferring, right? Bringing in some of that culture from LSU. Granted, it's Brian Kelly culture, so really not much to talk about there. But uh, he's got the reps in the SEC against some of the toughest programs in the country. And I think that is what he's going to try and lean on to sort of produce going down the road this season.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I really like the Alex Golesh hire, and I think a lot of the players they have on this roster are going to be really solid. It'll be interesting to see what they're able to do in year one, but I think there's a lot of optimism. Like you said, like Auburn's got
Yeah,
that culture and stuff too. I think there's some good things ahead for this program under Alex Golesh. Which is
yeah,
exciting.
and I think definitely in the future. I think okay, I'm going to say something now. I think 2027 they're going to be a serious contender for
Ooh, okay.
SEC championship. I'm even saying that I'm like a little skeptical, but I think
Maybe
they're going to
playoff
be.
threat, playoff dark horse.
I'm like nervous to say yes, but I think they're going to give it a stronger punch come 2027. But I think 2026, don't be surprised if they make a solid bowl game, like 7-6
Mhm.
or sorry 7-5 or like 8-4. But yeah, go Auburn, man. Good luck
Yeah.
on the year.
War Eagle, baby. We just posted. This is so it's 13 days when we're recording until the start of college football to kickoff on that Saturday, August
Cannot
29th.
wait.
And we posted on the socials today the 2013 Iron Bowl with the infamous
Oh
kick six and
yeah,
stuff with
kick
Chris Davis.
six.
So yeah, shout out that what is probably the greatest college football play of all time, right there. So shout out to Chris Davis for that one. For this next one, we're moving on, and this is going to be a quick shout out to my father, Steve, for a bit of ours. I'm going to do a quick demonstration of the infamous. You've heard of the tomahawk chop at Florida State, and you've heard of the gator chomp at Florida. Well, what Steve and I do is we combine them into the tomahawk chomp with it with an M in there, CHOMP. Oh,
That's incredible. What you're doing right now is incredible.
that's
Oh
that's a
my.
that's a thing about whenever Florida or Florida State do something like remotely interesting, that we automatically hit that.
Also,
We are
I
spamming
love
that.
I love the Florida colors on your shirt right now. They're incredible. Very, very fitting. I love it.
Oh, thank you. I didn't even think about it. That's
Yeah.
a good point. Yeah, this is a surfboard shirt that my mom actually made. So shout
Hey,
out to Tammy then as
shout
well.
out
My
Tammy,
mom
bro.
made this
Shout out
shirt. Yeah,
Tammy.
wearing this because we're seeing Point Break later today in theaters, which will be cool.
Ah,
So
okay.
anyways, back to the Gators, though. This is another program that's got a lot of excitement. They've got John Sumrall coming in to be their head coach and see if he can, get that trajectory going up. After
Yeah,
Billy Napier left, the program kind of shambles a little bit over there in Gainesville. I love this hire.
I
I'm
do too.
so hyped up about John Sumrall. He was an absolute quote machine at SEC Media Days. He was
Yeah.
saying some stuff or even afterwards, like his wife made a comment about how John loves getting like pedicures like once a week or every 2 weeks during the football season. He was taking shots at other SEC coaches complaining about the scheduling changes. Like it was just hit after hit after hit for this guy. I am
All
loving it.
right. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so I'm calling him John Showtime Sumrall for right now. I'm gonna try to come up with a
Mm,
better nickname, but I'm calling him Showtime right now.
that's
Um,
awesome.
and then the other big question, we've been talking about with Florida the last couple of years. They've had DJ Lagway at the helm, very
DJ
talented but not
Lagway.
consistent quarterback. And so the
DJ
key for them
Lagway.
this season will be finding that consistent play. Lagway, as we talked about before, transferred out from Florida to Baylor. Hope wish him the best there. Hope he's able to get things figured out and improve. But Florida's going to be looking for stability now at that quarterback position.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then for that stability, they're going to be looking at Aaron Philo, the quarterback who's transferring in from Georgia Tech, a part of the massive chain carousel of transferring quarterbacks going around. They're hoping to have him lead the offense for them and see if he's able to make some consistency occur. Obviously, Philo not getting much experience before, right? You've had Haynes King starting at Georgia Tech for the last how many ever years. So coming in, not as experienced and stuff like that, but hopefully he's got some raw talent that they can utilize and build up. And then also on offense, you have Jaden Baugh. I think I said that right. Who's a proven SEC running back, had over 1,100 rushing yards last year and 8 touchdowns. So that's going to be somebody good to have, somebody familiar in the backfield who's used to these conferences, these difficult schedules, and fighting through an SEC defensive line and front seven.
Yeah, I think Florida is. I got a few things to say. Like, I think the only thing, they're in a unique position. They are yet again, bringing in a coach that has had a lot of success. Right, has a unique personality to say the least, especially after given how he's been talking at SEC, media days and stuff. I'm, at first I was on board with the guy. Now I'm just like, now I'm a little on the fence of like, is he just all talk, no show type thing? Especially, look, I love coaches hyping their guys up, but also there's a lot of weight to pulling yourself in and being, sort of a little more reserved on that front. All right, back your team, like let your team show up for you, and then you can talk your talk. Is kind of where I'm at. I think Aaron,
he's on
right?
I was just gonna say really quickly on that. I think he's attempting to go on a Kurt Google me, I win Signetti trajectory, which we'll see if it works or not. But that's another guy who's been a recent kind of similar example of that, and he's been doing quite well, I would say. So sorry, continue.
And I think Florida is a place where you could do that. I think Florida is a place where you could do that. Look, Signetti took a shot in the dark when he said that, right? I don't know if someone else got the same sort of resume that he could do that. But I think with Aaron, too, my only point that I was going to make is he got to sit behind Haynes last year, and Haynes took a program that was like nothing pretty much into like damn near playoff berth, right? And so, and it also is still like crushing it like in the preseason in the NFL, right? And so I guess my thought with Aaron is, I hope he learned. Look, I hope he got to like witness stuff with Haynes last year, and he's a great guy to sit behind. And so we'll see how the Gators do this year, man. We'll see. Hopefully, not another disappointing year for the guys, but yeah. All right, we're gonna stay in the Southeast proper, but we're gonna go up one state. We're gonna talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. Preseason ranked numero uno that I checked out, and I saw that as we were going over this beforehand. It's always cool to like see who's preseason number one in conferences, right? It changes year to year pretty much, but yeah, Georgia preseason ranked number one. Let's talk about how. I mean, one of the bigger questions: can Georgia reclaim the SEC? They were overwhelmingly picked to sort of win out the conference this year, getting like pretty much half the votes, 88 out of 164. Look, can Gunnar Stockton turn Georgia into champions again? Oh, I could talk about this I could talk about Gunnar Stockton and what I think about him for a whole episode. Look, I think he's a returning quarterback. He's got experience as a starter, especially in a program like Georgia, especially in a system like Georgia, right? I just don't think he's the guy. When the moments get tough, when there's 2 minutes on the clock, fourth quarter, you're in a tight game, you're down by 5. You're down by a field goal, right? Like he has struggled to hold the ball at times, and so you know what? Best of luck to you, Gunner. But also, like, I don't know if you're I don't know. I don't think you're the guy. Like, I don't think you're that guy, truly. As Zach would say, you're not that guy. He is one of the guys to watch on Georgia's team, given his veteran experience. But let's talk about defense. KJ Bolden, right? Truly a leader on Georgia's defense. And He's a first team All SEC defense preseason holder, and I think Georgia's bread and butter is their defense. I feel like they've had great offenses over the years. Uh, Obviously, with Bennett a couple of years, like had a great offense, but at the same time, their bread and butter has been defense. They say defense wins championships, and Georgia has been the sort of like token child of that. And so I think they're right at ranked at number one. I think being ranked number one is probably appropriate for Georgia. Natty, we got a lot of questions. That is a deeper question to ask, in my opinion. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. That's definitely been Kirby Smart's MO, right? Is that defensive side of the ball. Like you said, truly stout defense. Even in these years where they've maybe lost their grip of the SEC a bit, usually the defense is still looking really good in those games, though. It's just the offense maybe lacking a little bit. I agree with you. I think Gunnar Stockton can be a part of a national championship winning team, but I don't think he has the X factor that's going to truly like propel a team forward, right? When you think of like Tua Tagovailoa coming in for Jalen Hurts in that national championship, and I think it was 2020, right?
That was no.
Tua, yeah, Tua was the X factor that won that game there, right? I mean, truly, you plug in this guy and just gets the offense going on overdrive there. Gunnar Stockton is I don't think quite that guy, but if the pieces around him work right, if that defense is the top in the country and the players around him on offense are playing well, I think they definitely could make it happen.
Yeah, I think they're more likely to make it happen if they get that offense going. We'll see. Mm-hmm. We got week 1 coming up soon.
Yeah. All right. And then moving on, we got going to the Bluegrass State. We got the Kentucky Wildcats coming in next. Number 14 in the SEC media poll. Will Stein, can he rebuild Kentucky? It's kind of the main topic of conversation there. Mark Stoops had a long tenure there. And it is now out of the program. And so seeing if Will Stein can take what he's getting in from that previous coaching staff and build it up, get some more consistency. Kentucky's had some decent flashes and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I recall they had a guy, I think they had 3 quarterbacks get injured, and then they had a wide receiver who used to play quarterback in high school end up playing quarterback for them. I don't remember his name now. That was a few years ago, though. They've had some fun, weird stuff happen on offense, but they really need to try to find an offensive identity, I think, is the kind of big part of this rebuild that they need to do.
Yeah.
Get consistency, get a reliable identity, style of play, right? Can they run the ball well? What's their passing scheme going to be like? Seeing if they can really build that up and be consistent offensively.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And to do that, they're going to have Kenny Minchey at quarterback, who's transferring into the program. He's going to be really critical to that team's success. And Nick, are you familiar with this Kenny Minchey guy at all?
Oh, dude. I mean, so there's two in recent past. I'll say one thing real quick. I think there's been 2 guys that have transferred out of the program in the last 5 or 6 years that have truly hurt my soul.
The program being Notre Dame for
context. Sorry, I should have specified. I think there's 2 guys that have left the program, 2 quarterbacks left the program that still kind of one hurts more than the other, but it still hurts. But so Steve Angeli, we talked about him.
Mm-hmm. Yep, knew that was going to be the other one.
So Steve Angeli, we talked about him last episode, but him leaving to Syracuse truly hurt because I thought he is legitimately a great quarterback. But I think the second guy was last year when CJ got the starting gig, we knew immediately Kenny was going to sit the bench that year and then transfer, right? A guy's a great quarterback when he almost got the starting job at Notre Dame over CJ Carr. We're talking there were reports last year that Freeman was truly he had a hard time figuring out who his starting guy was going to be, and CJ barely edged him out.
I think I heard too, if I remember right, that a lot of media people were disappointed in the selection too. They thought that Minchey outplayed CJ Carr in preseason stuff. So it was pretty interesting. He's clearly got that dog in him.
No, I mean Kenny, truly, what a guy. He's got immense talent, a great team player, truly, and so very, very happy for the Kentucky Wildcats. I think they're getting a great talent, and I think in terms of revitalizing that offense, I mean, great guy to start with, in my opinion.
Hmm. For sure. And he's got some people with experience at the program to throw into. Notable target Willie Rodriguez, the tight end, is going to be a junior at Kentucky this year at the tight end position. I'm sure he's going to be loading the ball up to him quite a bit, maybe some short yardage situations and stuff, third down, fourth and goal, etc. Um, yeah, that's going to be a really great target for him to throw to, be able to pick up some of those clutch yardage situations.
Yeah, dog. All right, let's head into the great state of Louisiana, folks. Let's talk about the Louisiana State University Tigers. Go Tigers.
There we go. I was like, you better slip the Go Tigers in there somewhere.
Go Tigers. Go Tigers. Uh, I mean, let's talk about it, right? This one's a big, unique. This is a unique and fun situation that's going on at LSU this upcoming year, right? They've got the big guy. They got Lane Kiffin coming in, right? Coming into LSU after a very, very, very controversial exit at Ole Miss. You know, it was a very classic Lane Kiffin situation, given leaving a program and sort of like what is it? You know, basically destroying the place on his way out. And so I think the follow up question is, can he immediately fix their offense? I would go further and be like, can you fix that program altogether? Defense wasn't that great last year either. They brought in a lot of cool talent into LSU, some from Ole Miss, obviously, but also I mean, I think one of the questions is like, can they fix the problems at QB? Like Nussmeier absolutely sucked last year. He's looked good for the Chiefs in preseason. Don't get me wrong, but like absolutely got was nothing last year.
I mean, can you blame the guy? He was getting coached by Brian Kelly.
Can you blame the guy? I mean, anyone really coached by Brian Kelly outside of, um, you know, a couple of the guys that actually made it well, like sort of like at Notre Dame. Really, I don't think there's really much to say there. But Sam Levitt coming in at quarterback, transferring from Arizona State, coming in with a pretty highly sort of stacked resume, right? Had 4,600 passing yards and 36 touchdown passes to his name coming in. I think there's good potential there. I mean, they've had an Arizona State quarterback transfer to LSU in the past few years that kind of did okay. Like a certain Jaden Daniels, sort of like
Daniels.
sort of rhymes with Schmade and Schmanuel, right?
Wait, Nick, can we talk about how their preseason rank is number 5 and all of the Jaden Daniels season assist stuff right now?
Oh, that's a whole thing happening. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So yeah, for folks who maybe aren't aware, LSU's letting some incoming freshmen or transfer, something like that, wear the number 5, which Jaden Daniels was told when he left the program that nobody else would wear number 5 there again, that they'd be retiring it for him, and clearly they're breaking that already just a couple years later with Lane Kiffin at the helm. And so he sent a letter to LSU. He wants his Heisman Trophy back to be out of their display case, and a cease and desist for them to stop using his name, image, and likeness.
Incredible, by the way. Incredible stuff.
And so everybody across the board in the sports world is throwing slander his way. I saw the Mets tweeted they won 4-1 in a game. This is the New York Mets, the MLB team, tweeted they won 4-1, and they're stopped at 4 in respect for Jaden Daniels. And StubHub tweeted, we're no longer selling quantities of 5 tickets out of respect for Jaden Daniels. It's everybody's getting in on this. I love this guy before, and it's hard to not dislike it. This is some crazy stuff.
I get it though. You feel disrespected, right? The guy brought them another Heisman in the 1 year that he was there. I get it. I'd be upset too. But also,
I flip it the other way on you, though, Nick. That's an individual award. You could argue that when they knew they weren't going to make the playoff, they did some changes and stuff like that to help them get the Heisman. Burrow got them a national championship.
That's true. That's true.
Jaden Daniels got them a Cheez-It Bowl victory. I think against Purdue, right? Wasn't that year?
Maybe. I can't remember.
I don't remember for sure. But anyways, yeah.
I see your point. No, I think that's really funny too. That they're ranked 5. Just another guy to wrap this team up is Tre'Davious Green. I think I said his name right, but Tre'Davious Green. These names are so unique. One of the conference's most difficult matchup problems. Truly, this guy is a threat on the offensive side of the ball. He's coming in. He's coming back to the team with 33 passes for 433 yards and 7 tutties last year. He's sort of catching 33 passes, sorry, and he's got second team All SEC honors. So he's going to add some sort of like concrete. I'm going to call it filling into that offense, and so yeah, I mean Tigers got an interesting year ahead of them, I will say.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting to
Mm-hmm.
see this team under Lane Kiffin. And you already
I'm excited.
know I'm going to be watching that LSU at Ole Miss
Oh,
matchup
dude, that's
coming
gonna
up
be.
in, I think it's October. That's going to be
I
cool.
already know they're gonna double his security. I already know.
Yeah. And that's for like the public well being. That is going to be absolute mayhem for sure.
Dude.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
all right.
anyways, over to a school that's not quite as hot and heavy right now. We got the Mississippi State Bulldogs coming in second to last in the preseason media poll at number 15. They're hoping to avoid another rebuild. It's like we said, they're just ahead of Arkansas. It's going to be a little rough for the Bulldogs probably, but we'll see if they can raise the floor, build up some consistency and stuff. They've got a young quarterback room, so they're going to see what they can make happen with that. See if anybody can stand out in the preseason here, and if anybody can really truly take a step up in their development and stand out at that position. Main guy to watch for that is Kamario Taylor. He's a really intriguing young guy on the roster. He's a sophomore and saw a little bit of action last year, so hoping to make that kind of stereotypical freshman to sophomore leap where you see a lot of guys make a major jump, kind of see the game slow down from a bit, be able to read defenses better, improve accuracy, etc. So hoping to maybe see that jump out of Kamario Taylor. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you got Isaac Smith at safety, who's going to be a senior on this team and really leading and quarterbacking that defense with 3 years of experience at the program.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say about Mississippi State. Another middle of the pack team hoping for slightly better than average season. We'll see. I think at the SEC for a team like that, I think you're just hoping to survive. And so, yeah. Let's talk. Let's go back a little northwest, shall we? We're gonna tap into the Midwest a little bit, but still stay in SEC country. We're gonna talk about Mizzou. The Missouri Wildcats? No. What? Tigers? Tigers. There's just a ton of tigers. If you find me a tiger in Missouri, we'll talk. Can Mizzou stay sort of in that SEC middle class, right? They're number 10 in the rankings this year, which I think, is warranted. But they had like sparks last year, right? They had sparks last year. I think, can they lean on Amon Hardy, right? I mean, they've got one of the greatest producing running backs that's coming back to college football this year. I'd say yes. I think they should if they're smart. But not a lot of people are smart, and so we'll see. Talked about Ahmad. Sorry, he's got 1649 yards and 16 touchdowns in 2025. One of the best running backs in the country, truly coming back into college football. I mean, the only thing I will say to combat that is how is your pass game going to complement his run game? That's all I'm going to say. Caden Green, we're going to stay on the offense, right? Defense, offensive tackle, right? Truly the anchor. I flip-flopped on my positions here, but he's truly the anchor on the offensive line. I for some reason got to mix up with somebody else, but he's a senior on the roster this year and started 11 games last year at left tackle. He got all first team SEC, and he's got a lot of recognition just from the press in general. And so I think this team is going to be another middle of the pack. It's going to be another middle of the pack year, sort of similar to Mississippi State. Preseason ranked at 10. I think if they get to 10, I mean, that'll be their year. That'll be a decent year for them. But
yeah. Nick, something interesting that I saw coming into this. So we know that Bo Prabula was the starting quarterback most of last year for them. Before I think he had some injury issues, but he was the starting quarterback most of the year.
Yeah.
Transfer from Penn State.
Went down.
And I assumed it was going to be Matt Zollers who was his backup, and we talked about it on this pod. I remember because he had some pretty electric plays and stuff. Turns out Austin Simmons, who's a transfer coming in from Mississippi, is going to be their starting quarterback and not Zollers. So that's gonna be something interesting to watch. I mean, I guess if he beat out Zollers, he's gonna be pretty darn good. So
I
maybe
mean,
he is gonna have that kind of compliment to Ahmad Hardy there. But that's interesting.
my I have two things for you. One, I don't think like Zollard was great in the moment. I think you and I were very excited about Mizzou's sort of like traction
Mm-hmm.
with Prbula that we're like, oh, Zoller's just gonna pick up from where he like left off. That didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
And Zoller's did not produce at the caliber. To be fair, he was an 18-year-old freshman. Like you you can't blame the guy at the end of the day.
Right.
Now, second, do you know what happened to Prbula? Is he still in college football? Like, what's going on?
I think he's done, or did he transfer anywhere else? Hold on.
Like, I have no idea.
I'm trying to remember. I thought I might have seen something about like West Virginia or something. He's at
No
oh my
way.
gosh. Is he at Virginia? He's at the Virginia Cavaliers. That's crazy. He's at UVA, yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know
Wow.
why Mizzou wouldn't want to keep the guy, but okay. That's a choice. That is a choice. Truly.
Yeah.
That tells me that they don't trust him after getting injured. That is disappointing. But yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very jealous of this next team you're about to talk about, by the way. You got one of the fun ones.
Oh,
I'm not gonna lie.
I'm excited for this one. We got Pete Golding's Ole Miss squad. Preseason number 3. This is going to be a fun team to watch. All right. They're going to obviously have some difficulties with this transition, right? Navigating that, going from Lane Kiffin to Pete Golding. That said, though, they did okay with Pete Golding leading the roster in the playoff last year, right? I think they beat Tulane by even worse in the playoffs than they did during the regular season when they faced them. And I think, didn't Ole Miss win a second game in the playoffs, or they were like darn close to winning a second game?
They were close. They were close.
Yeah. I think they play like Miami or something like that. I think I don't remember what it was exactly, but I remember thinking that they were looking really good in the playoffs there. So yeah, just seeing if Pete Golding can kind of use that little bit of experience as a interim head coach.
I love Pete Golding, dude.
Yeah.
I love Pete Golding, man.
That's a guy's guy right there for
Truly.
sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love that he walked up to the podium at playoffs last year at the college football. He goes, "All right, well, I'm here now, and we're gonna play football. That's all you need to know." That's like that. That was his attitude, right? And so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love Pete Golding so much.
He's aware of the drama and stuff related to the Lane Kiffin situation, but he is all business. I mean, he's going to feed into it a little bit, right? You got to use that somewhat, but he's definitely focused on the mission. Getting this team to win games, get to the playoffs, maybe win a championship. That's for sure what he's locked in on. And yeah, we'll be seeing if he can, under him, maintain an elite offense without Lane Kiffin. And let me tell you, Nick, he's got 2 guys that'll probably be 2 of my top picks to have in elite offense. Right, you got returning starters from last year: Trinidad Chambliss at quarterback and Kewen Lacey at running back. Both guys who could have declared for the draft and gotten drafted this past year, but opted to come back to college, rake in that NIL money, and just run it back with the squad they really love. This is a team right here at Ole Miss that you got.
I agree. Something that just popped into my head was like, think about a QB running back situation that came back instead of going to get drafted, right? Something that happened recently, Penn State, right, had their starting quarterback and running back come back 2025, and then that program just fell apart. Granted, still had their head coach, right? So different situation, but you're seeing what I'm getting at, right? Like,
oh, totally.
I don't think it's going to repeat at Ole Miss just because I think Trinidad is a much better quarterback, especially under pressure than Drew Aller was, right?
I was going to say, you're failing to consider that Drew Aller is a bum when it comes to being pressured at all.
Oh my God. Like that's an episode on its own, dude. But like, yeah, I think Trinidad, I mean, watching him play last year truly was a gift. And I was fully pushing for him to get that sort of extra year of eligibility. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, much more likable guy than Diego Pavia, so a little easier to root for him for getting an extra year. And gotta love the story, right? Him also coming from a lower level, D2 at Ferris State in Michigan. That's where that school is located. D2 powerhouse for a while. So yeah, excited to see him back for one more year in college, and then it's great to see Kewen Lacey coming back as well. They're going to be tearing up the SEC offensively. We'll see if they can have the rest of the cast come together, especially on the defensive end, and see if they can finish on the top.
Yeah. Let's stay with another O-name team in the SEC, a team that I love and I've loved for a very long time. It's the Oklahoma Sooners, preseason ranked number 7. Um, let's talk some stuff going on with Oklahoma, right? They've sort of still lived in that bubble of being an SEC newcomer. They've truly like milked that invitation. Like Texas has gone beyond that and has played, you know, well into like they're like, all right, we're an SEC top dog, but like Oklahoma's like, we're just here and we're gonna enjoy our time. We're gonna have a good time. To be fair, they've had a lot of change happen, and they've been here for 2 seasons now, and they're going into 2026 with I think arguably their best squad they've had in a few years. Uh, I think there's 2 guys on this team. One's a coach, one's a quarterback that you're going to look at this year. You know, Brett Venables, John Mateer, 2 guys we've talked about on this program, right? When I tell you, uh, Brett Venables is one of the best coaches I've ever watched, truly. From being a player's coach to also just being a great football mind, you cannot not love Brett Venables, right? Every year he's been at Oklahoma now, I have pulled so hard for this guy. Like when he was at Clemson, when Notre Dame played Clemson, I don't think I've ever been as scared in my life as when our offense had to play their defense. Like a whole thing, bro. And like, let's talk about John Mateer, right? Quarterback at Oklahoma, right? Veteran with a lot of experience, right? Had some injury issues last year, which obviously with the thumb in his throwing hand, basically derailing his entire season, even though he came back. He's coming in after throwing for 2,885 yards and 14 touchdowns last year, and he rushed for about 431, 8. And it was a great year for him, I think. But also at the same time, I think that higher expectations for that Oklahoma Sooner program. Let's stay on the offense. Let's talk about Isaiah Sategna Jr., the third, or sorry, not junior, not the junior, but the third wide receiver, returning, offensive game weapon. He's a redshirt senior in Oklahoma, right? And so transferring in from Arkansas, I think he's going to be an elite weapon to add for Mateer. Look, we've talked about Mateer last year, right? Like on
That
his
was our
game,
guy.
that was our guy. On his game, healthy, he is a Heisman caliber quarterback. Heisman. There was talks last year about him being, making the trip up to New York for the Heisman Trophy celebration, right? And so I think 2 things. Can Brett Venables keep that defense going? And 2, can Mateer be the guy that sort of like orchestrates the offense? I don't know. Time will tell.
Yeah. I will say, Nick, I've heard a conspiracy theory recently that I'm starting to subscribe to, and that unfortunately does not bode well for John Mateer or the Oklahoma Sooners.
Go on.
And that is that you cannot have a jacked quarterback, right?
Okay.
You think about some great all-time quarterbacks, right? You got your Tom Brady's, your Peyton Manning's, your Drew Brees. Drew Brees may not be a good example. Drew Brees is relatively ripped, if I recall correctly. But for the most part, though, you think about some of these elite quarterbacks. And these guys, I mean, don't get me wrong, very athletic. I don't want to make it sound like I'm calling these guys like chopped bums or anything like that, right? But they're not the most like, muscular. You're not like thinking they might be on steroids type thing, whatever, right? John Mateer's been posting some serious like off-season content. Dude is shredded, which is amazing for whatever girlfriend, dating situation, whatever he's got going on. But in terms of success on the field, I don't know. History may not be in his favor there. This is a complete conspiracy that doesn't really mean much of anything, but that's been something that's swirling around a bit right now in some sports talk radio I've been listening to, and I'm fully buying into it.
Yeah.
All right, moving on next is another team that I'm very excited about because this team is so fun to watch. And that is the South Carolina Gamecocks. Okay. This team is super cool. They got a really great quarterback wide receiver duo, which I'll talk about in a short bit here. But we'll see. Big thing here: can South Carolina really get into the SEC championship race? Right? They've had a lot of talent the last couple of seasons. They've had talent in the past and stuff too. but they're kind of not quite on that tier being able to punch into like the top dogs of the SEC. They've been solidly middle of the pack at least, and maybe threatening to get close to that territory, but really want to see if they can make that leap and compete for an SEC championship berth. And then also seeing if their star quarterback, Lenora Sellers, if he can take another step, right? Continuing to build upon what he's had in the past, development wise, and just really try to build it up further. And yeah, Lenora Sellers, one of those two guys I talked about that's really elite in this quarterback wide receiver duo. Truly standout player right there in the centerpiece of the offense. He's a redshirt junior now, so got a bit of experience under the helm there entering this season. And so good quarterback continuity and everything. And let me tell you, when he's healthy, when he's got time to throw, even when he doesn't have time to throw and he can scramble, he is electric to watch. This is a true playmaker right there at quarterback. And one of the reasons he's able to make so many great plays, he's got a really great wide receiver in Nick Harbor out there on the end. Nick Harbor, who was on my college FFB team. I'll do a quick little shout out there at 8 mil. Big fan of that. So everybody make sure you join the Boomer and Junior Podcast Fans League there.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out Sam and college FFB. But anyways, yeah. Nick Harbor, just an absolute specimen, right? When you look at like a Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, these guys who are just like absolute freak athletes, right? Nick Harbor's gonna be falling in that category. I'm not saying he's quite a Julio, but he's nearby there. He is just a specimen, like I said. He's going to be so fun to watch, get some really big explosive plays. Having Lenora Sellers throw the ball is going to be really cool to see.
Yeah, I was going to let you kind of drive with South Carolina just because I think you are more bought into the program. I think Lenoris is a good quarterback. I just think he's got, I mean, his injury last year was no joke. I think it was pretty gruesome, if I recall.
Yeah.
And so how has he done this off season? How is he going to be game ready this fall, right? There's a couple of questions there that are going to be asked of him. I don't know, man. I think South Carolina and sort of like their entire program is a wild card in my opinion. Ceiling is moderately high, base is very low, and so I think 11 might be an appropriate number for them, but yeah, time will tell if they actually pan out, right? And so, yeah.
One thing I will say before we move on to the next team is both them, also this team that we're about to talk about here. There's a lot of teams in the SEC, I feel like, that are like, they get a little bit of luck to go their way. They get a few bounces if they, like, good injury-wise and stuff like that. A lot of teams that I feel like can punch up well above their weight and be in that top of the SEC conversation, which makes it a really fun conference to watch. So
I agree.
I think they fall into that category. Maybe not quite as well poised as some other squads, but that's going to be something interesting to see this year. So anyways, continue with your next upcoming team here.
Yeah, no, take the mic back. Let's talk about the next team. We're going into the T's. We're talking about Tennessee, the Volunteers, right? And so I think they're another team that has a few questions at quarterback. They're going into 2026 with a little bit of competition between George McIntyre and transfer Ryan Staub. I mean, I think it's always good when a program has to decide between two really good quarterbacks. And so I think they put themselves in a very good position for that. It also gives the guys more sort of like firepower and motivation to do well in camp. And so following that, I think another question asked is, can Josh Heupel sort of like keep Tennessee in that SEC race? They've been dangerous the last year or two. And so, can new talent, can fresh faces keep up with sort of like the demand, right? They're ranked at preseason number 8 for the SEC. And so who knows? Let's talk about some guys to watch. Kind of mentioned George McIntyre, right? Quarterback at Tennessee. Really a true, like, he's really one of the most intriguing quarterbacks just sort of in the SEC right now. He's on the roster and he's coming in as sort of like the leading guy to take over the starting job, right? And so, I mean, can he stick it to Georgia's defense? Can he stick it to Alabama's defense, right? Things like that. This is all stuff presuming he's a starting quarterback, right? Like, I mean, science points to yes, but who knows? Let's talk about Deshaun Bishop, running back, right? He's a vet in that backfield, or just in a backfield, right? And so Bishop's a senior on Tennessee's roster going into the season, and I think it helps any program right now to have a veteran back to sort of like give your quarterback some help on the offense. And so I think Tennessee's a little underrated. I'm not gonna lie. I think 8 is a little disrespectful to that program. There haven't been that many teams in the SEC that have been like, oh, this ranking's a little low for them. But I think Tennessee at 8 is a little disrespectful. I could see these guys truly making a deep run for like at least the SEC championship, if not more. And so, well, let's hold our horses now. I don't think they're natty championship bound, but I think they could at least make an SEC championship appearance. But yeah, I think yeah, I mean, I don't really like the Vols coming from a Purdue background. I mean, we beat them twice now in the Music City Bowl, and I'd love to continue that. But yeah,
Yeah, that was a fun stretch there. It was like 5 years apart. Played Tennessee in their
no,
home state in
it
bowl
was like
games.
2 years in a
The
row.
most
It was
rigged
like
BS thing ever. Yeah.
it was like 2 years in a row in Nashville. Yeah,
Yeah, pretty wild stuff. Yeah, George McIntyre is gonna be the one to keep an eye on here. I feel like Tennessee. What I'm about to say is like a pretty like no duh, but I feel like this team is going to be driven by the quarterback talent and the output from that position, right? Obviously,
yeah,
that makes sense. Most important player on the field, but I feel like this team historically, when I think about Tennessee and when Tennessee's been good, at least in my lifetime, they have a like a really good quarterback at center, right? Or a really talented guy like a Joe Milton, a Hendon
yeah.
Hooker, a Josh Dobbs. These types of guys are when Tennessee is playing well. Even Nico Yamalev, definitely
Umaleva,
butchered
yeah.
that.
Is he
Yeah,
still around?
who I've since soured on quite a bit after transferring to UCLA, obviously. But that you have one of these kind of top guys, and McIntyre was number 17 quarterback in his class, 4-star guy. So got some upside there. Well, we'll see what we can do with that guy. I'm excited to see him play this year. I think Tennessee, like you said, I think they could end up, like I said, I think they're gonna be one of those teams that could punch up higher, right? Maybe is able to get in that higher class, maybe challenge for an SEC championship berth. It'll be
Yeah,
fun to watch and it'll be good to see.
yeah.
Uh, moving on to the other Orange UT in the SEC, going to UT Austin, Texas Longhorns, baby, and horns down. Yeah.
We are a horns down podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that we are.
we're horns down podcast
Yeah.
for the time being. Let's put it that way. We lean horns down. We lean horns down.
Imagine we rename the pod the Horns Down Pod. That'd be great.
I feel like I probably, as a kid from Texas, as a kid that grew up in Texas, I'd probably get death threats, and I'm okay with not with avoiding that altogether.
Mhm.
Go Irish.
Nick, I might I might be pivoting away from my horns down stance because I am very high on the Texas Longhorns.
Okay.
I think they're gonna be a
All
fun
right,
team
let's
to
go.
watch. I'm excited to see them play, and dare I say, I might be pulling for them a bit in some matchups. We'll see how things shake
let's
out.
talk.
Yeah, they're gonna be good to see. So yeah, pick number 2 in the preseason poll, and the big things we see if seeing they can finish the job. Right, they're starting to pick things up a bit. They made the playoffs recent. They didn't make it last year, I don't think, but they did 2 years ago, right? And seeing if they can just kind of keep building up, right? Maybe actually get to the SEC championship game, maybe win the SEC championship game, make it to a national championship game. These are things that we're like looking forward to see from this Longhorn squad. And they might have the guy to finally do it, or they might have the guy that can finally do it, right? Arch Manning, been there for a while, been kind of had a really sparky, exciting freshman season when he was able to play briefly behind Quinn Ewers, but been a little disappointing as a starter. That said, though, was playing a lot better towards the end of last season. So we'll see if he can really truly make that leap to the superstardom that was kind of laid out for him before he even played a single snap in college, and see if him and the talent around him can get some W's stacked up in the column there.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, like I said, Arch Manning's gonna be quarterbacking this offense under a lot of scrutiny last year, but building up his talent, skills, and consistency, seeing if he's able to propel this team to some high places. And he got some help this offseason, Nick. He got Cam Coleman in, the transfer from Auburn, to play wide receiver for him. They did lose a couple big guys at the portal. They lost Quintravion Wisner to Florida State, and they lost a receiver as well, actually, whose name I'm not recalling. But Cam Coleman will be an upgrade, though, at this receiver position as one of the top wide receivers in the country. And so this is going to be a very fun, exciting duo to watch. I'm talking about Lenora Sellers and Nick Harbor. That this is both of these guys are a tier above them, which is really saying something about how good this combo is going to be.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk. I'm going to give you my 2 cents on Texas for this upcoming season. Okay. Similar to Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, this is Arch's make or break year. We all know this. He knows this going into this season. The bar has never been higher for the guy. Unfortunately, it has never been higher. He enjoyed all of his high school sort of like stardom that got him to where he was at Texas. He enjoyed it. Now, I mean, can you back it up? Look, as you were talking, I think something that I realized is Arch has finally had solid play time at Texas, and he's got a great team, and he's got a great head coach to back him up, right? I think the play he had last year humbled the shit out of him, and I think that is exactly what a guy like Arch Manning needs. Arch Manning comes from a place where he could walk into any room and, because of his name, just could own the room. And so guys like that need a little bit of humbling, and I think that's exactly what he got last year. I think the ceiling is high for the guy. I think he has the ability, the true talent to sort of get Texas back to the promised land. It'd be poetic. It'd be, fairy tale level stuff. Having said that, time will tell. I think at the end of the day, time will tell, right? I mean, is Arch going to crumble under pressure like he has historically? I hope not. For his sake, I really hope not. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Texas. I've always been a Sark guy. Like, I've always loved Sarkisian. I think he's truly a great fit for the University of Texas.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But I think it's all going to come down to Arch. I think at the end of the day, you can talk about all the positions you want to, but it's going to come down to Arch.
Yeah. I will say this team seems like it'd be like Arch Manning, Texas go on a Joe Burrow, LSU, like undefeated season. Just light every team they play on fire types. Like they truly have that type of a ceiling I could see. I'm not saying they will do it, but I think they have that type of potential. And we could be at the end of the season, them holding up the national championship trophy, like, well, duh. Obviously, they went undefeated and won the national championship. They have Arch Manning and all these great pieces around him. Or if Arch plays like he did kind of more in the beginning of last year, doesn't really learn from these mistakes and stuff, maybe missing the playoffs. I mean, it's truly, I think they've got a decently wide range there of kind of the possible season outcomes. Granted, relatively high, so they're obviously going to make a bowl game at least. But I could see anything from missing playoffs to like one of the greatest college football teams of this century.
Yeah. Let's stay in my home state, shall we? Let's talk about the other team in town. Let's talk about Texas A&M. Let's talk about the Aggies. Preseason ranked number 4, and I think we've talked about in the pod. Has a special place in my heart. Loved one of mine. Obviously went there. I once again, coincidentally, I got to pick a team that I have a personal connection to. Let's talk about Texas A&M. Let's talk about the Ags. I think sort of like the question going into camp is, hey, can we replicate this, like the playoff appearance, I'll put it that way, that they had last year? Ooh, this one's a unique question for A&M, given how they were a firepower going into playoffs, and then just the last 2 games just crumbled, right? I think another one is we're talking about Marcel Reed and how he can jump to the next level. I think, you know what? He's got what it takes. I think he's a great dual threat athletic quarterback. He's got what it takes to throw that thing, right? And so, and also protect the ball when he needs to, but also just, I am still baffled at that Miami game in the playoffs last year in College Station.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like that game didn't happen. Like, I remember sitting
I say there were like no touchdowns until the fourth quarter, if I remember right.
It
Was it
was
something crazy like that?
it was a very, very sad game to watch. I remember being in my girlfriend's old apartment. She was falling asleep, and I was the one rooting for A&M at that point. And so, like, not to out her for that, but yeah, I think Marcel's got what it takes. It's a matter of can he, it's not just putting your foot on the pedal on the metal on the pedal, but keeping it there, not losing steam, and not crumbling under pressure when the lights are too bright. I don't know. I think another guy to look for is Mario Craver. He's a transfer receiver coming into the program. He's a junior this year, transferring from Mississippi State. Obviously, a bigger program down at College Station. He's going to be a weapon, I think, for Marcel going into this season. But yeah, I think my closing thought on this program is the ceiling is high. The ceiling is high. Can you convert? Can you can you not be? I don't know. I guess what I kind of said it earlier, but like when the lights are bright, can you keep your momentum going?
Mm-hmm.
I will be pulling for the Aggies this year, 110%. I think they've got the talent to make a deep run in the playoffs. But I mean, if your offense stalls like they did in the first round last year, I mean, you can't really do much, can you? You can't really do a ton.
Yeah. Absolutely, I totally agree with you. That's kind of what I was about to get into with my thoughts on it. Is Marcel Reed is this really dynamic player, but obviously got stymied up and shut down by that Miami Florida defense last year in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah,
Which credit to the Hurricanes, really elite defense last year, and Texas A&M just not able to overcome that. Can Mike Elko and Marcel Reed learn from these mistakes, figure out how to be more consistent, like you said, in the future here? I think they've got a good shot of punching another playoff bid. They do really have that talent on this roster, and I think it'll be interesting to see the path that they draw, right? Because if they're playing against just some decent defenses and stuff like that, relative speaking, for the playoffs, I mean, who knows? I mean, who knows how far A&M could have gone last year if they didn't face
I
Miami in the first
know,
round, right? I
dude.
mean, who
I
knows? So
know, dude. They look
yeah,
so scary going into the playoffs. It like is
yeah.
so disappointing.
So yeah, a lot of returning talent, especially your most important player on the field. So very curious to see, and I agree.
Yeah,
I'll be pulling for the Aggies this year as well.
dig them. Go Ags.
Giga Aggies, yeah. And that brings us to our final team in this week's preview, and that is the Vanderbilt Commodores. And Nick, I just want to start this off. Isn't it nice to be able to root for Vanderbilt again now that Diego
Uh,
Pavia is gone?
uh, oh man, I drove past Vandy's campus a couple of weeks ago, and I was
Ah,
passing through Nashville. It is such a beautiful place when you don't
uh-huh.
associate Diego Pavia with it. It is such a beautiful place. But
Yeah,
yes, I'm very, very happy to be beyond that.
yeah. So it's going to be really good to see, this elite academic institution, which it had, on and off success and stuff in terms of the athletic department, at least in revenue sports, football and basketball. And so we'll see if they're kind of truly in a new era, right? Of that Diego Pavia and Clark Lea have started building this program up, being more consistent, getting more wins. We're going to see what they're able to do after their first 10-win season and a school record 6 SEC victories.
Mm-hmm.
This is big time stuff when you're reaching new heights as a program. So we'll see if they can keep the momentum going. I think it would be fair to expect at least a slight step back, but if they could go like 8-4 even, I feel like not
That's
bad,
a win.
not
That's
bad.
a win.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see if they can sustain the breakthrough. And for that, they're going to have Cedric Alexander at the running back, centerpiece of their rushing attack. He's a senior on this team. Really excited to see him play again. Just after starting all 13 games last year, had over 500 yards and 11 touchdowns. Big number to watch there, getting
Big
into the end zone
number.
a lot. So seeing if he can propel them forward. And then also wide receiver Junior Sherrill. Junior, love that off the bat. He and I have something in common. Nickname Junior.
Funny.
But an experienced
Funny.
receiving threat. 54 receptions for 784 yards and 7 touchdowns last year. Yeah, hoping that these offensive threats can kind of keep things going, even with Diego Pavia, he who must not be named. Moved on to not the NFL anymore because he got cut by
Nope.
the Ravens weeks ago, but
Dude.
somewhere doing something.
I want to focus on Vandy, right? Like I want to focus on Vandy. for a quick second because they deserve the shot. They deserve the spotlight for like this segment specifically. Yes, I think 8-4, like you said, is a good target for them this upcoming year. I'm done with that quick second. Let's talk about Diego Pavia. God, it's good to be done with that guy. Oh my God, he was such a like leech on college football last year, and boy, is it like I'm so glad to not have to hear about him on Saturdays this year, man. Oh my God.
Nick, have you seen the HR meme where it's like an attractive guy? It's like a cartoon. It's like an attractive guy complimenting like a woman's outfit, and she's like, "Oh, thank you." And then there's like an ugly fat guy complimenting her outfit like with the same words, and she's like, HR," like on the
Yes.
phone calling up HR.
Yes.
That is Trinidad Chambliss and Diego Pavia right there.
Yes.
Granted, these are based off of character traits.
Yeah.
Maybe also attractiveness, but character traits primarily there, right?
Yeah.
Trinidad Chambliss
God, I
not
hate
doing really
Diego
anything
Pavia.
much different than Diego Pavia, but in a much more respectful, polite, high character way, such that we're all on Trinidad's side, I think. Meanwhile, we couldn't get rid of Diego soon enough.
I hated Diego. I hated his entire crew, like his entire family, embarrassing him on. Like I hated that dude. Truly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm good riddance, man. Good freaking riddance, dude.
Good riddance, and I think this might actually be the final time we mention him on the pod now. So
God
fingers
bless.
crossed
Good
for
night.
that. Yeah.
Please never again.
Yeah. And with that, that'll bring us to the conclusion of this week's episode. So thank you as always, everyone, for tuning in. Make sure to rate, review, like, follow, subscribe, everything. Make sure to sign up for collegeffb.com. Join our fantasy football league, Boomer Junior Podcast Fans League. We'll have that linked in the description. So make sure you check that out. Also, as always, email us comment, questions, feedback at officialboomerandjunior@gmail.com or drop a comment on the video. And follow us on our social media. We got the Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube Shorts. Stopping at 4 platforms right there out of respect for Jaden Daniels. That's it. You already know. We're back next
So
week with the
good.
Big Ten. Have a
So
good
good.
one.